Again, this is Chris Lewis. In this video, we'll be talking about national currencies and the indices of those nations. Now, what I'm about to describe to you is probably more along the realm of swing trading, but it can be used in day trading if that is in fact what you are doing. As counterintuitive as it sounds at first blush, when a currency drops, typically that's very good for the stock market. Now, there are times when that's not true. For example, if you have a currency that is tanking because an economy is tanking and maybe a war or something like that, then obviously all bets are off. As I record this video, we are in the midst of watching tariff wars flare up between the United States, Canada, China, Mexico, and now China and Canada. So there are times when these things do go in flux, but a prime example of this is an export nation. Think of it this way. If you make a certain amount of products that you send around the world, if your currency shrinks in value, that makes your products cheaper. So if you are in country A and your currency is dropping, country B is more likely to buy more of those products that you make. You're just simply cheaper. And in that sense, you become much more competitive than their domestic currencies. So again, this tends to work out over the longer term, but sometimes it can give you a little bit of a heads up as to how you can trade a currency against other currencies during the trading session. But I will jump on the charts here and show you a couple of examples of exactly how a shrinking currency or a strengthening currency can have a direct effect on the index of the country that the currency represents. Okay, so in front of you, I actually have two charts. They look very similar over the last couple of days, and there's a reason for that. What you are looking at in the chart on the left-hand side is the US dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, keep in mind, when you're measuring the strength of a currency, typically you measure it against the US dollar first, therefore getting an idea of how it spends around the world. Now, granted, you don't necessarily know everything from its trading against the US dollar, but it gives you a general idea. So on the left-hand side, I have the dollar against the Japanese yen, and you can see that the dollar has been falling. It does look like it's trying to turn around by forming a hammer at the close of Friday. I happen to be recording this on the weekend. And you'll notice that there is also a hammer in the Japan 225 or the Nikkei 225 index. And why would that be? Well, Japan is a massive exporter of goods. Think Mitsubishi, think Sony, think Honda, etc. So if their products via exchange rate get to be cheaper, that has a major influence on the index. The Japan 225 is chock full of exporting companies. Pretty much any company that you can think of off the top of your head, unless of course you happen to be Japanese, that is of Japanese origin, is a multinational that does most of its business actually outside of Japan. And so, in this example, if the US dollar were to break to the 152 yen level, there's a very good chance that the Japan 225 would start to rally as well. You'll notice that the dollar peaked against the Japanese yen on January 10th. And has dropped since then. So the peak over here in the Nikkei 225 was right around January 10th. You'll notice that we fell. We tested the 200-day EMA, which in and of itself was probably going to be an event. Rallied quite nicely. We did the same thing over here. We tested 155 yen, bounced a bit, and then fell. And you'll notice this huge candlestick to the downside on January 27th. Now, it's not just the Japanese yen that this works with, but Japan is a particularly interesting study, mainly due to the fact that it is so export driven. And of course, the interest rate differential favors most currencies against the Japanese yen anyways. All of that being said, here's another example of where currencies show strength in a national economy. This is the exact opposite. What you're looking at on this chart is the British pound against the US dollar, which of course has spiked quite drastically as of late. And you're also on the right hand side looking at the FTSE 100, which is the 100 biggest companies in the United Kingdom as traded at the London Stock Exchange. Now you can see that the chart does not look as similar as it does in the Japanese yen. And there's a point to be made here. You'll notice that on the 14th of January, the British pound made its trough against the United States dollar at 1.21, and it shot significantly higher in a very short amount of time, basically about 6-ish weeks or so. It is now at 1.29. So again, January 14 is basically where we had bottomed. And when you look at the FTSE 100, January 14, we had already bounced a little bit before then. So what does this tell you? This tells you that money's flowing into the United Kingdom. So the question, of course, you will ask is, why didn't it drive their stock market lower? And the simple answer is the United Kingdom isn't a major exporter of anything, really. They do have exports, of course, but it isn't like Japan or a country like China or perhaps even Australia, although Australia has a few specific things that are attached to its currency, such as commodities. So it's a little bit different there, but it does give you the same idea. However, when you look at a company-wide gain when it comes to the stock market of major exporters, typically that means that you have cheaper currency backing that up. So understand which economies are major exporters, and you can use this as one of your background fundamental type of analysis pieces. It's simple to figure out major exporters. These days, you only have to ask ChatGPT, who are the 15 largest international exporters, and you can go through and do some back testing and analysis with this, and you can see how the very top destinations will have that same correlation as the dollar against the yen and the Nikkei 225. Other places, for example, Switzerland isn't a major exporter, although there is a little bit of a correlation between the euro, Swiss franc pair, and the Swiss 20, mainly because 85% of Switzerland's exports end up in the European Union. So it does make a certain amount of sense that you want a cheaper Swiss franc in that scenario. So it's about knowing where the flows of international capital move. And with a little bit of research, you can find a handful of these that will really lead the way, and you can use it as one of your fundamental reasons to take a trade. So when I look at, let's go back to the dollar against the Japanese yen. Well, when I look at this, the first thing I think is, well, if the yen is about to get weaker, what's going on in the Japan 225? And it looks similar. So when I look at this, I might, depending on what the price action does, maybe not fight this cluster of noise just above, but I might buy the Japan 225 for a quick trade if that starts to rally. Conversely, if it's cleaner in the dollar against the Japanese yen than it is the Japan 225, I might play the dollar yen. This is why it's important to notice correlations like this, because it can simplify your trading once you understand what those correlations are. Again, you're looking for exporters with a cheaper currency, or you're looking for those who are not exports driven countries who are seeing inflows based on a stronger currency, and of course the stock market rallying. As long as, in the case of the British pound, it rallies, there's a good chance that there's at least some money flying into London from other places around the world in order to buy their equities. So a little bit of logic goes a long way, but unfortunately I know a lot of retail traders don't think about the actual flows of money. It's not the pound strong, the dollar's weak. I mean, there is that, but you also have to understand why money's moving somewhere, and then it all starts to make sense.